2 best-selling books, which is amazing. I know some of us even struggle to write long emails, so writing 2 books is honestly a huge, huge accomplishment. She was also interviewed by Gibbs as one of South Africa's top female entrepreneurs and has trained over 12,000 people. And I've been lucky enough to be one of those 12,000, and it's really been a big game changer for myself. And the Time magazine calls it the biggest performance game changer, and I must agree with them. She's also the Chief Excitement Officer at the network company and is also a single mother who brought up 2 identical twins who are now 23 years old. So I think, Helen, we can officially say job well done, although I'm sure they are still very much involved in your life. And Helen's also ran the New York Marathon in 2011, which is also one of amazing accomplishments. She also understands the performance demands and has personally experienced both the productivity and resilience benefits of mindfulness. And I can assure you guys and agree with that. And I think it's been a hectic few weeks for all of us. And I think this session is good for us just to touch base again. So Helen, over to you.
Great. Tammy, can everyone see me and we're all good to go?
Yes, your slides are up and we can see you. Thanks, Helen.
Fantastic. Hello, I2 and the Hollard Broker Network. It's very exciting to be here with you on this Friday. I'm a client of yours, so you are very close to my heart. And this is a subject that's very close to my heart. And I know these last 6 weeks, you know, a lot of us have been on leadership courses in the past and people have spoken about change, agility. Well, it's now here. There's now the opportunity for us to practice a lot of what we spoke about, the future. And I'm going to share a lot of my personal lessons. And I'm also going to share some of the stuff that I think will resonate with a lot of people, because I think a lot of people are skirting on burnout, being in Zoom meetings all day long, suddenly having to homeschool your children, housework, cooking. You know, there are just a lot of performance demands at the moment. And I'm an ex-accountant, so I believe in a practical toolkit. So I'm going to leave you with some very practical things. And we're also going to get moving. So don't get too comfortable in your chair, because we're going to be getting to do some things as well. So one of the biggest things which I think is really important to understand is that stress is not the bad guy. So you may be sitting here and saying to me, well, Helen, that sounds very strange. If stress isn't the bad guy, then who is the bad guy? Because people are using the word overwhelmed to describe how they're feeling a lot. And what we've realized is stress often forces us to a high performance state. It's often where we do our best work. So think of if you've got a big client meeting tomorrow and you've got to prepare a proposal, or you're doing a presentation to a client, your adrenaline and cortisol the night before is on. And that adrenaline and cortisol is designed to actually help you perform the next day. So stress is not the bad guy, because it forces us obviously into this high performance state. We are not, but the problem is that we're not designed to stay in that state all day. We're not designed to go from meeting to meeting to meeting to meeting to meeting from 8 o'clock till 5 o'clock. Because what happens is you actually flatline your energy, and that's why we collapse in a heap at the end of the day, and there's very little left over for anybody else. So your work is getting your best self. We believe there can be a both and. How do you perform optimally at work, but how do you have a life as well? And what we've realized through this work is that the absence, okay, something seems to have happened here. There we are. Absence of recovery is the problem. We are not recovering enough. So I want you to imagine some kind of oscillatory process, because in many ways, as human beings, we are oscillatory. You think of, and the world is oscillatory. So winter and summer, we have seasons, we have night, we have day, and we sleep and we're awake. And we need to have better rhythm during our days to maximize our energy. And one of the people who's done this really well, if any of you are over 40, you may remember Ivan Lendl. So Ivan Lendl was a top tennis player, and he won the World Tennis Championships 5 years in a row in the 1980s. It had never been done before. And Harvard Business Review studied his performance because they wanted to see how was he able to win Wimbledon, the American Open, the Australian Open, all of those tennis tournaments 5 years in a row. And what they did is they studied his performance. So they filmed him, and have a look here.
As expected from the defending champion, Lendl slowly began to rebound, countering McEnroe's precise volleys with his own arsenal of rocketing serves and skyward lobs. Lendl took the second.
So one of the things that Ivan Lendl did is in between each point. So when he served, he would obviously stress himself out. His adrenaline and cortisol was high. But in between each point, he played with his racket strings and he would bounce the ball 4 times between each point. He would kind of bang his racket against his shoe, and he took 5 to 10 seconds longer between each point than his opponent on the other side of the net. And this was quite revolutionary. And what was interesting, he didn't even know he was doing it. He did it unconsciously. And it was only when Harvard pointed it out to him and they said to him, do you know that you take 5 to 10 seconds longer between each point than your opponent? And that is the secret source of your high performance. And this was quite revolutionary because when he was finally beaten, he was beaten by a Chinese guy called Michael Chen, and Michael Chen started to extend his recovery period. And that was how he ended up beating him. And I think we can draw some very important lessons from this and from swimmers. So the professional sporting environment is actually a laboratory of high performance. And all of us in business, we need to become corporate athletes. So we need to take lessons from the professional sporting environment into our lives, because that's how we're going to be able to manage our energy better. So when we first used to run our program, we used to run it at the High Performance Center in Pretoria. I don't know if any of you have been there. It's where our athletes get ready when they're about to go and compete competitively overseas. So for 2 Olympics ago, Chad Leclose and this team were busy training at the High Performance Center while we were there. And for the women in the room, I have to tell you, we did a lot of research on this. So this is highly robust research and wonderful eye candy. And what's interesting about the High Performance Center is they have 2 pools there. So they have a heat pool where the swimmers will swim their top time and do their fastest time. And then there's a training pool. So when they're finished in the heat pool, they don't go and get out and they don't go and get changed. They go down to the training pool where they swim 10 or 20 lengths slowly, because they know they've got to lower their heart rate. And this is a very powerful lesson for us in the way in which we manage our days. We need to oscillate our energy like this, going up and down, instead of flatlining yourself. And the way in which practically I have implemented this in my personal schedule and in my team schedule is we work in sprints. So I do not schedule back-to-back Zoom meetings. I always have 15, 20 minutes between. I'll maybe have 2, but then I'll have a half an hour gap. And one of the things under lockdown that I've made sure that I do, I always go and eat outside when I have my lunch. So it may only be 15, 20 minutes, but I get some sun on my face because I know that I've actually got to gather myself again so that I'm ready to rock and roll and sprint for the afternoon or the morning or for my next meeting. So this Pomodoro technique is something that our team have been using. So if any of you may be familiar with it. Sorry. Okay, I'll just carry on.
Sorry, you can continue. It's just a bit of an echo.
Okay. So what the Pomodoro technique is that you work for a sprint and then you have a break. So one of the gifts that I gave to everyone in my team before we went on lockdown is I gave them a little egg timer. And there are a lot of millennials on my team. So they work in 45-minute sprints and then they have a 15-minute break. And that whole concept of raising your stress and cortisol and then recovering, stress and cortisol and recovering, enables you to have high performance the entire day. So I take 90-minute sprints. I prefer that. And we do something called deep work, which I'll touch on again later. But this has been a really practical way to incorporate recovery into your day, because we are not designed to be on all the time. So I love words, and I'd like to use the analogy of a sentence. And if you have to imagine your day as a sentence, I'd like you to ask yourself, what is your full stop at the end of each day? What activity do you do when you're done for the day? So I'm going to share some of my recovery rituals. And remember, recovery for you will look different to me, but you'll know that it's working when you're feeling energized. So at the end of the day, when I sit down on the couch or the veranda with my husband and we have a whiskey, then I'm done for the day. I don't, there've probably been 3 times in the last 6 months where I go back onto my email, because that's when I need that absolute full stop, of a hard stop at the end of the day, because then my body starts to relax. And then you actually find yourself sleeping better, because if you literally are on your laptop or on your phone when you're lying in bed or sitting in bed, then your sleep is absolutely going to be compromised. So I'd like to encourage you to think of yourself, what is your full stop at the end of your day? Then I'd like to imagine, or you to imagine, your week as a paragraph. And that's why I was so thrilled to be doing this on a Friday, because at the end of your paragraph, how are you going to recover this weekend? Because often, and especially pre-COVID-19, for those of you who have big family responsibilities, often our weekends are spent throughout the week kind of with lots of activities. And when I was first aware of this, it really came kind of really into a very practical way in the way in which I manage my weekend. Is I used to go and shop and do errands on a Saturday, and suddenly I realized that my energy was really being compromised, and I was exhausted by the time Sunday night came. And also, never watch carte blanche on a Sunday night. It's very bad for your recovery. So in our house, and this is going to happen just now, on a Friday night, there are 2 things that happen. We have a braai, and my husband buys You Magazine and knickknacks. Now that happens every Friday in our family. And I can't tell you how nice it is, because then we know we're done for the week. We've worked hard for 5 days, and that is the end of my paragraph. And then on a Saturday morning, what I run, I have coffee with my friends, and then I have been experimenting with recovery on a Saturday. And I literally do nothing. I lie on the couch, I read, or I watch Netflix. I try and keep my phone in a drawer, because I know that I've got to replenish myself. And then Saturday night we'll often go out, and Sunday was for family. Now, if you've got small children, I'm very aware that it's very challenging to try and take a morning for recovery. But even if you can't manage a morning, I'd like to challenge you to at least set an hour or 90 minutes on a weekend that is absolutely devoted to you, because that's how you've got to recharge your batteries. And then I'd like you to look at monthly recovery. Is what are you doing on a monthly basis that marks the 1 month moving to the next one? Because often the only way we mark those months moving is through debit orders going through our account, which is not a great way of celebrating the movement of the months. So I always have a facial or a massage, no hairdressers and none of those people at the moment, but I have some kind of beauty treatment at the end. Normally it happens on a Friday at the end of the month, and I book those for the year. So some kind of treat that you put into your schedule that is non-negotiable and is just for you monthly. And then lastly, I'd like to challenge us all is to imagine your book as a year. And we have a very old-fashioned paradigm in South Africa of this December holiday business, where we take 1 holiday a year. And I've learned a lot from a colleague of mine. And what he does is he takes out a big year planner in about September of a year. And what he does, he lays it out on the dining room table. He marks all the public holidays for the following year. And then he books 3-day trips around the public holidays. They go camping a lot, so it's all into nature. And I think if there's anything I personally have missed during lockdown, it's being out and air and trees. So the more you can go into places where there's no Wi-Fi, and hopefully later on in this year, we'll be able to travel a little bit more. And those 3-day breaks are much more effective from an energy management perspective than that old-fashioned paradigm of one break in a year. So what I'd like you to do is just to take a moment on a pen and paper in front of you, and I'd like you to jot down any recovery rituals that you think you could adopt. And I'd like you to think of daily, weekly, monthly, and yearly. And I'm going to play you some music for 3 minutes while you write it down.
Helen, I think if people also feel like sharing, you guys are welcome to put it into the chat box. We've had a few people comment in here, so if you'd like to share with everyone, feel free to add it in the chat box.
If anyone's got any questions.
Yes, if you've got any questions, pop it in there.
So daily, weekly, monthly, and yearly.
Come away with me in the night. Come away with me and I will ride.
Would anyone like to share any of the recovery rituals that they have?
So Adele, maybe Helen, Adele shared. I just want to find it here quickly. Now I've lost it. So we've had people say they have a glass of whiskey at the end of the day. Glass of wine, I mentioned, but I think some of us have run out, which might be a bit difficult.
Yes.
Rika, which is a golf player, she normally ended off her week with playing golf on the weekend. And now she's changed that into playing board games with her kids, which is great. Yes, Adele, she's the one that said, my full stop is having a whiskey. And what else? We've had listening to music as a daily full stop.
Music is a very powerful recovery ritual because it changes kind of the chemistry in your brain and changes your mood instantly. Yep, lovely.
We've had meditation, wine, prepare dinner, chit chat with kids, which I think is great. People interacting with their kids more now and with family, walking the dogs, pot of tea. And what else? Yes, we've had a whole few, cup of coffee.
I think that we are unconsciously incorporating some recovery, but my challenge to all of you is to amplify it. Take it up a level. We are all under enormous stress at the moment, so you actually almost need to double your recovery. And, and that's one of the things that I'm seeing. I've had delegates contact us in the last kind of 2 or 3 weeks saying that they're literally on the verge of burnout because Zoom and Microsoft Teams and Skype and WebEx and all the platforms that we're using, just remember you require 30% more energy to interact when you're using these platforms. So because they are so linear, you've got no other stimulation and they're very draining. So make sure the way in which you construct your day, your weekend, your month, if you don't, and this is the last thing I really want to say about recovery is I want you to analyze your recovery story. So I used to have a recovery story that recovery equals laziness. And I had to really address this until I skirted along burnout at least 3 times and nearly died about 4 years ago. And that was when I had to realize that recovery is actually the secret source of high performance. And that I am a better mother, I'm a better wife, I'm a better boss, I'm a better human being when I recover. And remember, sleep is an important element of recovery. And one of the things that I've noticed during this time is no one is sleeping. So I just want to give you a couple of tips around sleep before we get into some more mindfulness techniques, is take magnesium. So I am a magnesium fan. I mean, whatever brand you take 2 slow release magnesium tablets before you go to bed, because magnesium actually relaxes your body, and especially if you're waking up at about 2 o'clock in the morning, it's very helpful. I take 2, and so does my whole family before we go to bed, and also bath. And put some Epsom salts into your bath, because Epsom salts, it actually relaxes your body as well. So take old-fashioned baking Epsom salts. You can get it, I like a brand on Take-A-Lot, and you pop a cup of it into your bath, and you'll find how it relaxes you. Was that a question? No? Okay. So magnesium, Epsom salts, and when you get a bonus or you have some extra money, buy a new bed. I absolutely believe that you should be feeling like the Sealy Posturepedic advert when you wake up in the morning. And if you're not, then look at the quality of your bed. Make sure you've got blackout curtains. And we always, as a family, leave all our phones in the kitchen. Because the problem is if you wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning, the temptation is then to grab your phone if you're using it as your alarm clock. And then often, then you start getting engaged with messages, etc. So what I'd like you to do all now is, can everyone stand up? So I'm going to teach you a quick technique called yoga at your desk. And we use this all the time, especially when you're feeling like your energy is lagging. So if everyone can make sure they're standing up, and it would be quite fun if you turn on your cameras at this point. So what we're going to do is you're going to put your hands out to the side. And I want you to put your legs a little bit wider than your hips. And what we're going to do is we're going to bend down. And it's almost like doing a headstand, but you on your feet. So are you ready? We're going to do this 3 times. Okay, 1, 2, and 3, and bend. So you can feel the blood rushing to your head. And stand up again, big stretch out to the side, and down again. And up, big stretch. And last one, bend down. And up you come. And then what I'd like you to do is give your body a big shake. Shake, 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 shake. Your hands, your legs. Shake, 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 and then stop. And can you feel the energy in your body? So when you're feeling tired in front of your computer, literally, you do that 3 times. And that instantly lifts your energy. Thank you, everyone. Okay, so now, what is it to be mindful? Because I have found mindfulness an amazing coping technique.
Helen, sorry, we lost you there. Can you just reshare your screen if you don't mind?
Yeah. There we are. Is that okay?
Give it a second. There you go. Back on. Great, thanks.
Okay, fantastic. So, just... There we are. I'd like to share my mindfulness journey, and it started off with the tooth fairy. So my twins are identical. And when they were 8, this incident happened. So for those of you who are parents or you had teeth, you'll remember that parents are often the tooth fairies and they leave money in exchange for teeth. So my girls, when they were 8, their molar teeth fell out. And literally because they are identical twins, everything happens on the same day. And they were very excited because they also thought molar teeth were worth more than little milk teeth in the front. So they went and deposited their teeth in their slippers, expecting a visit from the tooth fairy. I'm embarrassed to admit the tooth fairy, who was obviously me, forgot. And I didn't just forget the first day, I forgot the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th night. Yes, I know. It was it literally felt like someone had stabbed me in my chest. And I'll never forget, on the 5th morning, I was brushing my teeth and my daughter Sabrina came and put her hand on my arm and she looked up at me with the saddest little face you'd ever seen. And she said to me, "Mommy, I don't believe in the tooth fairy anymore." And what I realized is life was not in a good space. It was Monday, then it was Friday. It was Monday, then it was Friday. Suddenly we were in October of that year. And I thought, how did we get to be in October? And I looked at my daughters who were 8 and I thought, I'm not sure I fully participated in their upbringing because it literally felt like it had gone by in a blur. And the one thing when you have twins and you have no other children, you have no other children to practice this newfound wisdom on. And this is what I looked like at that time. That was me in Central Park in New York, walking before I went on a course called the Corporate Athlete in Orlando in Florida. And that's me running the New York Marathon in 2011. And there were only 2 things I put in place, 2 mindfulness techniques that I put in place between these 2 photos. The one was that I started actively practicing gratitude. And the second thing is I started to mindfully run. And I've never run a marathon since the New York Marathon because I thought if I'm going to kill myself, at least let me do it in style in New York. But I still run 3 or 4 times a week and I absolutely love it. And I can tell you, I do live a different life now. It's a much more conscious life. And I think that for me has been one of the gifts of COVID-19, is that it has given us an opportunity to reset our lives, to live a more conscious life. I've realized you get clarity about so many things during this time because we've all had time to re-examine our lives and to think about where we're at. And what's so interesting about mindfulness is right now the time is 15:31. So this is the sweet spot of your life. And it's so interesting how seldom we spend time in the present moment. We're so busy feeling guilt and regret about the past or worrying about the future when the only place we can have an impact on is this present moment. And it sounds like a cliche, but the reason why the present is called a present is because it's a gift. And I want to share a story with you, and it really is a horrific story. Some of you may remember it. It happened in 2008. This guy is a professor at UCT, and he had a little boy who was 18 months old, and his wife normally took the child to school, but she was busy that day. So he took the little boy, put him in his car seat, and the child immediately fell asleep. And this guy was so busy thinking about his day that he drove straight past the nursery school and went and parked his car in the lecturer's car park at UCT. He got out, went about his day, and he forgot the child at the back of the car. And 2-3 hours later, the alarm is raised and people rush to the car, and the child was dead in 46-degree temperatures in Cape Town. Now, it really is a horrific story, and I'm not telling the story because of the horror factor, because I think that's fairly obvious. I'm telling the story because I watched an interview with him a year after this happened, and he spoke about some very interesting things, and I think there's some very valuable lessons for us. And one of the things he spoke about, when his students were interviewed about him, these were some of the things they said. He was a good guy. He appeared extremely busy. He was often forgetful. He's always forgetting stuff. He just strikes me as a busy guy. He's always rushing. It's just how he is. And why I wanted to share his story with you is when he was interviewed, he said that he believes that life is like a dashboard. So just like we have dashboards in our car that show us when we run out of petrol or when our tires are low, he says in exactly the same way, life kind of sends you messages. And when you mindfully pay attention to those messages, when life starts to whisper to you, if you don't listen to that whisper, it starts to shout a little bit. If you don't listen to the shout, it starts to scream. And he says there were many signs that his students had obviously already pointed out, that he was constantly busy, he was forgetting stuff, that he was living a very unmindful life. So he didn't go from nothing to leaving his child at the back of the car. He said there were numerous signs along the way. And what I've realized with this work is we don't lose our marriages overnight. You're not suddenly happy and then you're unhappy. We don't lose people in our teams overnight. You know that someone was unhappy. We don't lose our health overnight. I did this session for a bunch of cardiologists years ago, and they said there's no one who has a heart attack who didn't have a symptom at least a year before. And often that symptom, interestingly enough, is reflux. So if you know someone who's always taking Enos and Gaviscon, then know that they need to go for a checkup. So my question to all of you here this afternoon is, are there any red flashing lights on your dashboard that you need to be paying attention to? Because when you mindfully are in touch and conscious about your body, about your relationships, about your work, and all these things, then we notice things, as I said before, they become full-blown crises. And I want to share one of my favorite poems around mindfulness with you. When you shower, shower. Now, I'd like to encourage all of you to choose one thing that you do in the morning and do it mindfully. So I brush my teeth mindfully. So because what it does, it anchors me to that day. It makes sure that it says, Helen, are you and your body in the same place at the same time? When you greet a friend, greet that friend. When you peel a potato, peel the potato. When you have to do the admin, do the admin. When you are tired, feel tired. When you take a bite, take a bite. They did an experiment in America where they took a cinema where people had popcorn, and they took popcorn that was in the bin. It was stale, it was old, it was covered in ash. And they took that popcorn and they repackaged it into new containers. And they gave it to the next lot of people who were coming to movies. And they wanted to see, would anyone complain about this horrible popcorn? And do you know that not one single person complained? Because if you watch people in a cinema or movies when they eat, and when they're eating popcorn, they're shoveling it into their mouth, obviously without tasting it, especially when you put salt on top. So make sure when you eat, eat. And I always say to people, never eat in front of a screen. So try as a family at least once a day to sit together and eat. And when you're having lunch, and this is one of the gifts of us being at home, is make sure you use different areas of your house. You know, go outside, get some sun on your face for lunch. I always make sure that all my meals happen outside of away from my laptop. When you laugh, laugh. When you say hello to your child, say hello to your child. When you rest, rest. When you feel under pressure, feel the pressure. When you exercise, exercise. And when you attend a meeting, attend the meeting. So I want to leave you with 4 very quick, practical mindfulness techniques you can literally start using in your life right as of kind of 4:30 of today. And one of the biggest ones is to understand that no one can multitask. Our brain is a single processing unit. And when we do a whole lot of things, we just do a whole lot of things badly. And this was a huge aha moment for me because I defined myself around my ability to multitask. I wore it as a badge of honor. I even got a job once where they said, she's an excellent multitasker. And little did I realize that that was actually me. When you multitask all the time, you are destined for mediocre performance because you're not doing anything really well. And you also get very tired and you are not happy because we want to actually complete tasks. So this whole hamster on a treadmill mode is very much around multitasking. You don't want to be that person. And I spoke earlier around deep work and what deep work means. And I highly recommend this book, Cal Newport. And I will send anyone a copy of the presentation that wants it. I'll give you my email address at the end. Is deep work means that you do periods of deep work during a day. And those are those 90 minutes I was talking about. And when you do deep work, it means you do one thing at a time. You switch off your email notifications, you switch off your phone, and you focus. And you'll be amazed at the kind of quality of work that you produce and how happy and productive you actually feel. Because what's happening is if you're sitting in an Excel spreadsheet or you're doing an email, those email notifications are popping in. So we constantly are task switching, which makes our brain very, very tired. So deep work for me has been a performance game changer, both in our business and for me personally. Barriers around technology. All of us love technology, but increasingly these are the kind of pictures you're seeing at restaurants and at home. Einstein was a wise man. He said, I fear the day technology will surpass our human interaction. The world will have a generation of idiots. And Prince, who's a rapper, has some interesting things to say. See what you think of this.
Did you know the average person spends 4 years of his life looking down at a cell phone? Kind of ironic, ain't it? How these touch screens can make us lose touch. But it's no wonder in a world filled with iMacs, iPads, and iPhones, so many eyes, so many selfies, not enough us's and we's. See, technology has made us more selfish and separate than ever. Because while it claims to connect us, connection has gotten no better. And let me express first, Mr. Zuckerberg, not to be rude, but you should reclassify Facebook to what it is, an anti-social network. Because while we may have big friend lists, so many of us are friendless all alone because friendships are more broken than the screens on our very phones. We sit at home on our computers measuring self-worth by numbers of followers and likes. Ignoring those who actually love us, it seems we'd rather write an angry post and talk to someone who might actually hug us. Am I bugging? You tell me, because I asked a friend the other day, let's meet up face to face. They said, all right, what time you want to Skype? I responded with OMG, SRS, and then a bunch of SMHs and realized, what about me? Do I not have the patience to have conversation without abbreviation? This is the generation of media overstimulation. Chats have been reduced to snaps. The news is 140 characters. Videos are 6 seconds at high speed. And you wonder why ADD is on the rise faster than 4G LTE. But get a load of this. Studies show the attention span of the average adult today is 1 second lower than that of a goldfish. So if you're one of the few people or aquatic animals that have yet to click off or close this video, congratulations. Let me finish by saying you do have a choice, yes. But this one, my friends, we cannot autocorrect. We must do it ourselves. Take control or be controlled, make a decision. Me? No longer do I want to spoil a precious moment by recording it with a phone. I'm just gonna keep them. I don't want to take a picture of all my meals anymore. I'm just gonna eat them. I don't want the new app, the new software, or the new update. And if I want to post an old photo, who says I have to wait until Thursday? I'm so tired of performing in the pageantry of vanity and conforming to this accepted form of digital insanity. Call me crazy, but I imagine a world where we smile when we have low batteries. Because that'll mean we'll be one bar closer to humanity.
He was one of the speakers. I went to a Google conference on mindfulness 4 years ago, and he was one of the speakers. And I think there's some great lessons. Are you the master or are you the slave? The third technique I want to share with you is something around breathing, whether you call it meditation. I learned a meditation technique when I was a student, and I still practice it today. And we meditate for 15 minutes in the morning. And I can tell you, when I get up from that, I'm focused. I know what we've got to accomplish for the day. And the days that I have not meditated, it compromises my thinking. I'm much more fuzzy. And here's a practical way, because a lot of people want to know how to do it. So I want to introduce you to a technique called 4-7-8 breathing. And I'd like us to do it. So I'd like you to make sure that you're sitting comfortably with your legs on the floor. And I'd like you to take your hands and hold your tummy. And we're going to do 3 of them. So what 4-7-8 breathing is, there's a TED talk on it, so you can go and check it out. You breathe in through your nose for 4. So you go, you hold your breath for 7, and then you slowly exhale for 8 through your mouth. And what this does, it immediately calms your body. And if you a person who's battling to sleep, you can do 4-7-8 breathing in your bed, and actually immediately you'll often end up drifting off. And if you're waking up at 2 o'clock in the morning. So let's close our eyes, and I'm going to count. We're going to go nice deep breath in for 4 through your nose. 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold for 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And slowly exhale for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Nice deep breath in through 4 through your nose. 3, 2, 1. Hold for 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And slowly exhale through your mouth. I always imagine I'm going downstairs. For 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And one last one. Nice deep breath in for 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold for 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And slowly exhale, going down those stairs through your mouth. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And open your eyes. You notice how immediately that calmed your body. And why meditation breathing is such a powerful mindfulness exercise is because it brings your brain and your body into the same place at the same time. And that so often, seldom happens during our day, because our bodies are here, but our brains are somewhere else thinking about other things. And then the last technique I want to share with you, and this is one of my favorites, is to practice gratitude. So I keep a gratitude journal, and all our delegates always get gratitude journals. And I want to share what I wrote on Monday. in my gratitude journal. There's some things I write every day, and I was grateful for my Sabrina, Caitlin, Michael, Mom, Dad, Mark, Diane, Andrew, and Kim's health. That's my whole family, and I actually name them, and I write that every single day because I am very grateful for their health. I'm grateful for the beautiful weather. I'm grateful for the run with Wendy this morning and that my fitness hasn't gone. I'm grateful for the love of Michael and his snack platters. I'm grateful for KG, who's in my works in my team, and his solutionist mentality. I'm grateful for my brain. I'm grateful for connecting with an old colleague. I'm grateful for deadlines. I'm grateful for cappuccinos. I'm grateful for Smay, our helper. And I'm grateful for our beautiful home with running water, electricity, and space. These are not big things, but what I've realized is our brain is a deeply negative organ. 70% of your thoughts that you have every day are negative. And especially at this time, we're all worried. There's an absolute level of uncertainty. What is South Africa going to look like? People are suffering. They're taking huge strain. What is the world going to look like? And yet we need to, what we can control is how grateful we are. And yet if we constantly focus on what we don't have, then how are we going to be grateful for what we actually do have? And I think this sums it up. I'm going to come back to that. If we don't feel grateful for what we already have, what makes us think we'd be happy with more? So I'd strongly suggest you individually or as a family, write your gratitude down. And there's some days all I've written is I'm grateful that this day is over because it's been a horrible day. But what I'm still doing is I'm training my brain to be positive. And if you look over here, Harvard got 3 groups of people. First group had to keep a diary of what happened. Second group, only horrible experiences. And third group had to do what I'm doing, made a daily list of things that they're grateful for. And look at the results of that. Daily gratitude exercises resulted in higher levels of alertness, enthusiasm, determination, optimism, and energy. They experienced less depression and stress, were more likely to help others, exercised more regularly, and made better decisions. All of us are in the business of return on investment. I think 3 minutes of doing gratitude resulting in all those results is very, very powerful. So I want to finish with this. The Dalai Lama, when asked what surprised him most about humanity, he said, man, because he sacrifices his health in order to make money. Then he sacrifices money to recuperate his health. Then he's so anxious about the future that he doesn't enjoy the present. The result being that he doesn't live in the present or the future. He lives as if he's never going to die, and then dies having never really lived. And I love this. Kwalani Gwala, who died last year, you may remember his story or listen to him on 702. He said, you have 2 lives. The second one starts when you realize you only have one. So this is my email address, helen@tnco.co.za. I'd love to hear from you if you want a copy of the presentation or you have any questions, but we're going to open the chat line up. So let's just see where we can do this. If any of you have any...
Yeah, Helen, so we've had 1 or 2. Maybe I'll just recap for you while you, if you want to, we can keep that slide up for a while. Otherwise, I'll also just take a shot of it and post it onto the chat so everybody has got your email address.
Yeah.
So I'll do that right now. So I think just maybe from my side, luckily I've been privileged enough to attend one of your actually full courses, which has really been amazing. But also just to comment on the 4-7-8 breathing pattern. So I think for some of us, sometimes you don't think as you think in the moment, oh, it could just be something or it won't really have such a big effect. But I can truly comment on that, you know, I'm actually a good sleeper, but some nights you do have your head running away with you and very busy. And I've actually used that 4-7-8 pattern, and I find that I don't even reach the 3rd round. Like I then just fall asleep, which is actually great. And that's after like an hour of tossing and turning. So yes, I can definitely comment on that. And then we had a question from Tove saying, and I know Tove is a bit of a night owl. So she says, and this was to do with the full stop at the end of your day. She says, what if you prefer to work till midnight? Does that count as end of the day?
Well, I think, I come from a family of night owls. My father only goes to bed at 4 a.m. in the morning and then wakes up at about lunchtime. It hasn't been great from a financial perspective for the rest of our family. But, I think that you've got to get 7 to 8 hours of sleep a night. So, if you find that you work best at night, I mean, I'm in bed by 9 o'clock and I'm up at 5. But I find that if you are a night owl, then you've just got to make sure that you're getting those 7 to 8 hours, because the problem is that life often starts earlier than that. And I think in South Africa, we have quite an early morning culture because of our weather. So, I think the big thing is the full stop will work if you're getting your 7 to 8 hours of sleep a night, and if it works for the rest of your family as well.
Cool, thanks. Helena, maybe just a question from my side. So I actually did the year planner thing this year after last year. So I got a year planner and I planned my holidays, and unfortunately this corona has taken it all down and unplanned my plans for me. So I think, do you maybe have just 1 or 2 tips on, like, if your full stop at the end of the month was a brunch with the girls or whatever, and now you can't do that. Like, I found that I've been thrown off a bit, especially I've shared with a few people that this week has been my toughest week, where I miss interacting with colleagues and brokers, and the rest of the weeks I found were okay, but this has hit me the hardest. And I think it's just because we've been for such a long period without interacting. Do you have any tips with regards to?
Yeah, what we did as a family, and also 2 weeks ago, I had a very rough week. And I think that there's no one out of this that has come out of this unscathed. I think that the emotional toll that it's taken on everyone, because you've seen people really suffer, your business might be directly affected, or your spouse or your family. So you've got to plan, treat things. So what we're doing for Mother's Day, and happy Mother's Day to all the mothers on Sunday, is there's an amazing company called Joburg Places that does virtual storytelling tours of Joburg, and they do it, as South African stories. So whether you're in Durban and Cape Town, it doesn't matter. And what they do is they arrange delivery of a certain food. So everyone gets the same food. So we've done it for our family. So everyone's getting their Mother's Day meal delivered on Sunday, and it's the same food. And then you all warm it up, and then you have an hour and a half virtual storytelling. And they tell stories about Joburg and South Africa. And it's the most wonderful thing. I participated in it in person, and now I'm amazed to see how they've gone virtual. So I'm really excited about that. So those are the kind of things I think, companies are getting very imaginative in terms of the way in which they're doing things. So that could be a nice way to get your family together, and you're telling stories. People are playing more board games, they're doing puzzles. You've got to, because I think one of the challenges about this time is that it's sometimes your days can all blend into days, and you've got to make sure that on the weekend, like, have a very different routine to the week. So, I make sure that I dress, I put makeup on, I get up, I wear smart clothes during the week, because otherwise I felt I was schluffing around in my tracksuit all the time, but I do that then on the weekend. So I think really to differentiate weeks and weekends is also very important.
Great, thanks, Helen. So, Angelie, I think it was Annalise Douglas had a great question. Annalise, I don't know if you want to maybe turn your mic on, and then you can interact with Helen.
Yeah, I just wanted to know the Pomodoro method. What would be the ideal plan, if I can put it that way, to set a time for your sprint and rest, or doing something in between your sprints? What would be an ideal time throughout your day? How many of these sprints would you add with rest in between? Just like to play around with and see what works.
Yeah, that would be, so I've realized that in my team, I'm obviously the oldest person, and I feel that I can concentrate for 90 minutes at a stretch, whereas I found that the younger people in my team prefer the 45 minutes, 15 minutes. They say that that 45 minutes is enough for them. So I think you need to, and for example, I find that I'll try to do at least 1 and possibly 2 sprints, in a day, in the morning, and then the rest of my day is with meetings, etc. So I can tell you, you will see a dramatic increase in your productivity if you can fit one period of deep work using that Pomodoro, technique. Because a lot of us, we don't even have that one period. So whether it's 45 minutes or 90 minutes, one as a start, I think you'll immediately see the difference.
Okay. And is it better to have that type of sprint first thing in the morning?
I think if you are a morning person, and especially because none of us are spending time in traffic now, I will often do my best work kind of between about 5:30 and 6:30, and then I go for a run. So, and that was time I used to spend in traffic. So those are the gifts that we're actually getting during this time. So you can actually try and fit it in almost before your meetings and stuff start.
Okay, cool. Thank you so much.
Pleasure. Good luck.
Thanks.
Gail, you can turn on your mic and ask the question if you're keen.
No problem. I find in the afternoon I get very tired, sort of after lunchtime, and then I'm feeling like a power nap. And because you're at home, it's far easier just to collapse on the couch for 20 or 30 minutes. Is that a good idea or not?
How do you feel when you finish that?
Dozy.
Yeah, power napping is quite a controversial subject. I did this session for the Reserve Bank a couple of years ago, and one of the guys told me that he goes and has a power nap in his car over lunchtime for an hour and a half. And I said to him, that is not a power nap. I said, that's a sleep. A power nap should never be more than 20 minutes. And I have a colleague, I travel with her a lot, and she's a queen power napper. And she says that 13 minutes is a good power nap. Really, a power nap is you actually just resting your eyes. So you're lying down, preferably, not definitely not in your pajamas, but you're lying down and you're just kind of resting your eyes. I do think that we need to do more eye rest at the moment, because I don't know about you, but my eyes get very sore from looking at the computer screen all the time, because my job has never been to sit in front of screens a lot, and I'm doing it obviously just like you are, much more than we normally are. So you've got to make sure, and apparently after 20 minutes you should look to the side and actually blink your eyes 20 times, and then to keep on doing that every time, because that helps your eyes. So I think it sounds like your nap, I think the other question is, are you sleeping well during the night?
No.
Yeah, so in other words, that's why you're feeling drowsy, because your body is actually wanting to sleep, so try the magnesium and the Epsom salts. So try get your sleep better at night, and then you may find that you don't. And are you exercising at all?
Yes, I'm exercising, yeah. Not as much as I normally do, but yeah, walking at the moment.
Yeah, so maybe try and, push yourself a little bit on the exercise, because that'll also help your sleep. And just, I would try and not power nap and push through that afternoon thing, and then maybe your sleep will improve as well.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Just before, because I see some people have to leave, and I completely understand, and we encourage everyone to stay on and ask questions and interact as much as you want. But just before everyone goes, we would like to challenge everyone to take a short little clip of your yoga, your arms out, legs parallel,
yes,
up and down and shake. I think I've got it right.
Yeah.
And please send us videos, tag I2, and let's get a good routine going. And then news just in, confirmed both Tova and Justin, is that on the 22nd of May, we will have Bruce Whitfield from 702 on Friday. So it'd be great if everyone can tune in and have a listen. I'm sure he's going to have some interesting things to tell us. And then next week, we're going to be focusing on K&R. I don't know if whoever was able to attend our K&R session that we had last year, or it wasn't this year, I'm not actually sure, with Stephen McGowan. He was actually kidnapped, and he's going to be sharing some of his things and stories with us next week. So yes, please tune in. So let's see if there's more questions. Meredith has got a question. So Meredith, turn on your mic and please, you can ask Helen. Okay, I'm going to ask. Oh, there she is. Great, Meredith.
So I've often heard that if you don't eat correctly during the day, that you have the slump in the afternoon.
Yes.
So is that true, or is the slump?
Absolutely. No, it absolutely is. I mean, you've got to imagine that your blood sugar, you've got to keep it constant, because as soon as you start, like me, so you've got to keep your energy up and down, stress and recovery, but your blood sugar you need to keep even, because that's when you start to have cravings. So, you need to have breakfast. So ideally breakfast, snack, lunch, snack, supper, because then you're keeping it, and obviously eating low GI stuff. So stuff that's not going to make your blood sugar shoot up. So, and there's a lot of research. I saw Dr. Oz. I don't know if you remember him, that Oprah guy. He was one of the speakers at that Google conference I went to, and he was saying that he eats the same thing every day because he finds it's just easier to manage. So he'll have like oats in the morning, then he has an apple, then he'll have a salad at lunch, then an apple, and I personally thought that was quite boring. And because I like variety with food, but the lesson I took out of that was that we plan a menu on a Sunday, and then at least then you know what you're going to have, because otherwise it takes too much energy to kind of think every morning, what am I going to have for breakfast, what am I going to have for lunch. So the more you can pre-plan, and food, I think we eat better when we plan. So you've got healthy stuff around you. And just try not even have like horrible stuff in the fridge or in the cupboard, because then you're not tempted. But I mean, I think we've all been baking more, and there are not many people who've lost weight under lockdown.
No, definitely not. Even the kids can bake bread now.
Yeah, no, exactly. We've gone bread mad. Yeah,
We've all become chefs, Helen. We've all become chefs now.
Yeah, no, and apparently, I mean, I remember seeing an interview with someone in Italy, and they said that because obviously we're not exercising as much, and we're baking more, and your body has craved things that give you comfort, So yeah, I think the more you can try and keep that blood sugar level, stable, you're gonna benefit.
Absolutely. So I just want to say bye to everyone. Whoever needs to go. You're welcome to go. We're going to have the recorded session on YouTube. But thank you so much for attending. Thank you to our brokers, all the staff, and if we had any clients on, thank you for attending. It was great having you all here, and we hope to see you in the next sessions coming up. If you have any questions, you can contact myself or Tove or Justin or your salesperson or your local area guy, and we'll add you to the invite list. But if there's any more questions, please feel free to put on your mic, say bye, say hi, ask questions. We've got some great comments here.